In this video, I'm going to be modeling for you a few strategies to determine elapsed time. So let's all get a common understanding of what elapsed time is. So elapsed time is, another word for it is duration. And what that means is it's how long something lasts or how long something takes to accomplish it, or it's the length of time between two different times. So you might have a starting time and an ending time, and you're trying to find the time in between. Or you might be figuring out how long it took to do something. So I'm going to give you a few different strategies and a few different examples of what it might look like when we're solving problems involving time. So here, I went on a hike, and I started my hike at 3:45, and I ended my hike at 5:07. Now you'll see that I'm using a number line strategy, or we can also call it a timeline since we're using it for time. And you'll see some similarities in how we use number lines in other ways. Now, if your third grader already has a good sense of figuring out elapsed time, they don't necessarily have to use this strategy if they're accurate with it and consistent with using their own strategy, whether it's mentally they're able to kind of visualize that clock and do the hours and the minutes that are elapsing. Then they don't necessarily have to use this, but they might see time represented on a line like this, and so they do need to be able to interpret it. So they might not necessarily be using it, but they do need to interpret it if they see it as a strategy being used visually. So I'm going to go ahead and use it, and I will show you another strategy I'll be using that's not the timeline. So here I went on my hike, started at 3:45, ended at 5:07. So my question is, what was the duration of my hike? How long was I hiking for? How much time elapsed between the start and end of my hike? So here I'm at my starting 3:45, and I like to think about hopping in hours and minutes, just like we hop with hundreds, tens, and ones. But I always want to keep my eye or my mind on that ending time, because sometimes I might hop over it, and so I want to make sure I don't. So if I hop an hour, that means my hour is going to be changing. If I hop an hour, that would take me to 4:45, so I'm safe to do that. So if I hop 1 hour, it's now 4:45, and I want to make sure I label it with 1 hour, 1H, because later on when I'm having to add this up, I don't want to think that that was 1 minute or a different value. So 1 hour took me to 4:45. Now I'm going to keep my eye and my mind on this, because if I hop another hour, that's 5:45, that's past. So now I actually need to hop by minutes. And there's a few different strategies you can use here. It's whatever numbers work well with you. You might hop 5 more to get to 50. You might hop by 10s. You might hop 15 to get to the next full hour. It's whatever works for your brain and whatever numbers work well for you. What you do want to keep in mind, though, is that minutes come in groups of 60. Once you get to 60 minutes, you then start a new hour. So if I were to hop by 5s, if I do 5 minutes here, it's now 4:50. And if I do another 5 minutes, it's now 4:55. And if I do another 4 minutes, it is now 5 o'clock. So this here took me to what some third graders might want to say is 4:60. But once I have that new group of 60 minutes, it becomes a new hour. So now it's 5 o'clock. And now might actually be a really good time then to see, oh, I'm only 7 minutes away. I can just hop that 7. So now it is 5:07. I'm there. I could extend my hop all the way there. So now I need to figure out the duration, though. I figured out here, but I need to actually put it all together. So I like to circle my hours together and then my minutes together. So my hike was 1 hour, and then my minutes here are 5, 10, 15, and 7 more is 1 hour and 15, 16, 20, 22 minutes was the duration of my hike. That's how long I was hiking for. Okay, so that's one example of elapsed time. Let me do one other example here for you. So for this example, Gina, she had to do some chores before her friends came over. And if she wasn't done by 3 o'clock, her friends had to leave. They would not be able to come and play because she would have to do her work. So these are the chores that she has to do, and this is how long it took her to do them. And so we need to find out, did she finish in time for her friends to stay when they got to her house? So she's starting her chores at 2 o'clock, and she's going to do each of these, and if she finishes at or before 3 o'clock, her friends can stay. If she finishes after 3 o'clock, then her friends are going to get there, and she's going to have to tell them to leave because she still has more to do. So we're going to start here. It's 2 o'clock. She's doing her dishes, so that's 23 minutes, so it's 2:23. 23 minutes elapsed or passed. Now, it's 11 minutes more she has to do the trash. Now, it's not starting at 2 o'clock. She's now adding on, and she's now doing the trash for 11 minutes. So I'm going to be adding to the minutes here. 11 minutes would be 2:34. So that's the 11 more minutes for the trash. Now she needs 18 more minutes to clean up her toys. So again, I'm adding to the minutes. So 2:34 and 18 minutes, well, 10 more would be 44, and then 8 more would be 52. So it's 2:52 when she finishes her chores. So I look here and I see, well, she's done before the 3 o'clock. So woohoo, her friends can stay and play. So the duration of time it took for her to do her chores, starting at 2 o'clock and ending at 2:52, it took 52 minutes since we're in the same hour. Now, another strategy that's not related to the number line that students could use for this type of problem is adding up the durations and figuring them out. So if I take the 23 minutes for the dishes, 11 minutes for the trash, 18 minutes for the toys, if I add them all up, 8, 9, 12, 2, 3, 4, 52 minutes to do them, then I add that to my starting time, and I see that that's 2:52. The same thing that I got here, but I just used a different strategy. But this strategy isn't going to work for everything. This is if you're given some durations and you're trying to find the total amount of time used. All right, so go ahead and use these strategies when you're using elapsed time. Like I said, your third grader might not necessarily always use this strategy, but if they see time represented on a timeline or number line, they do need to be able to interpret it, what it's meaning, how much time has gone by.